Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 0030 of Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. And today we have Sasha Posavec, who is with us. Sasha started out with Croatia, ended up in other parts of Europe. He is working for a luxury car firm these days, doing all kinds of programming work for them. But his online presence, his entrepreneurial route, is that of a life coach. And so, Sasha, I want to welcome you to our show today.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary, for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to actually share my story with your listeners. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. Let me just start right off the bat. You're an online entrepreneur now, but as an online coach and entrepreneur, what was the one thing you wish you knew before you started this digital journey?
That's a great question, actually. And I was, in touch with this question before. And my thinking was always actually, especially nowadays, that how much fun this will be. That is something that, how much fun this will be. That's something that I would have liked to know before, because it's like when you really want something in your life, and when you admit yourself that is really something that you are passionate about, that everything that starts after that can be so much more interesting and so much more fun. With more understanding, you can do so many things. And that's how I'm actually approaching this. It is so much fun. Even when things don't go as you planned them, you can still have this kind of awareness that, okay, that'll pass, and it's still fun as I'm doing it, That would be something that, wow, it's so much fun. It's even better than I thought about it before. So that's one thing, maybe a little bit positive, but that's really true. So that's my thing.
I would say there's a lot of people who sit on the fence and they don't know what they don't know. And it isn't until you get off the fence that you start to realize that it's a lot of work, but there is fun. There's fun that you never realized that you would get to know. And you get to know a lot of people. And that really adds to the flavor and the pleasantness of the journey.
That's really, really true. People that you meet, you don't even know who will come into your life. All these contacts, all these different experiences from different people that then you share with each other. That's really priceless. And that's the best part of this, as I see it. That's the best fun. And that's where the fun comes from, really enjoying it. And that's how I want to pursue this, with this enjoyment, or whatever you call it, this pleasure.
It is pleasure. It is pleasure. And so even though we have all this pleasure in our journey, I don't like the word failure, but I'm using it. What is the biggest failure? What is the biggest mistake? What is the biggest learning experience that you've had on your journey so far? And what did you learn from it?
Failure, yes, that's definitely something that we will encounter. Well, whenever it'll happen, it'll happen. It's something that is just maybe, I don't say normal, but we can expect it, okay? So my approach was always about failures early in my life, that it was a disaster. I would blame myself. Also, early in my life, I learned that actually that failure is just a feedback for me. And that's how I've been since I was in my early 20s when I realized this kind of thing. I learned it or whatever. And that really helped me and changed my approach, how I see failures or things that I don't maybe achieve in a way that I was planning them to achieve. So it's really just a feedback. I ask myself, when there is a failure, what can I learn from this? Is there something I can improve so that next time when it happens, I change it, or I change the response to that situation? And that's how I deal with failures. But maybe my one failure that I can maybe mention that maybe repeated itself in this kind of process before, it was a lack of planning and scheduling that caused maybe some failures in my life or my journey, whether I was at university or maybe at the stage of my business career. That was something that I didn't do maybe in a way that it should be. And then I failed to deliver on time. So I learned how important it is, especially nowadays when I'm in this kind of business, how important it is to prioritize, to schedule it, and then to action on it. How important it is to have these tasks that are important, Put the list. What is the priority of these tasks? Really make it clear, and then schedule it. Put some kind of deadline. And that really helped me to then deal with my procrastination. Oh yeah, I don't feel like doing it. Maybe I should do something else. No, if it's important, I will do it. So that's somehow, failure in maybe this kind of different way how I look at it, explain in this question.
Sasha, I really appreciate that, because what we have in this show, we call it Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets, and you have just thrown out like handfuls of nuggets out there. Most entrepreneurs who begin as an entrepreneur have never been an entrepreneur before. And the big shock for me personally was I'm responsible for everything. Before, I always was an employee. I went to school. It looked like a factory. I was trained as a child to become an employee someplace. And as an employee, my responsibility was minuscule. As an entrepreneur, it was global. It was if something went wrong, ultimately I'm responsible. And I think we learn this is a massive university we've put ourselves into. The entrepreneurial university of whatever our life is about, whatever our journey is about. It's a lot of fun. And I guess the thing I like to associate it with is I used to think as a kid that if you could fly an airplane, that would be freedom. Anybody who could fly an airplane was just experiencing freedom. But when I went off to learn a little bit about how to fly an airplane, I discovered there were all kinds of laws and rules you had to obey or you were going to crash and die. But if you obeyed all those laws, then the rest of the world would see you experiencing this freedom. And the digital world is exactly the same way. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree. I mean, so important what you said, and yeah, and also about, fun, and then this other side of maybe fun, which you can also call fun, if you understand that during that fun, we can have some challenges. So definitely
Awesome.
Something to think about. Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody who is listening to us today and they said, all right, Sasha, what advice would you give me? I'm thinking about getting off the fence and becoming an entrepreneur. What advice would you give me?
Another important question, I would say. Important question, Gary. So thank you for asking this, because when I started with this journey, and let's give this advice, okay, to your listeners. My first advice would be to test this idea that you have, to test the idea or this dream that you would like to pursue, to make a reality. Is this really something that you would love doing? Not only would you want to do it, is this really something that you would love to do? So important, because we want to make sure in this process that we are not doing this because somebody else told us that that's good, okay? We want to test it for ourselves. So important that we start from that kind of perspective. Is my dream, or is this thing that I want to pursue online or whatever, is this worthy of my time? Is this worthy of my energy that I will invest? Because this will require energy. This doesn't require time. I mean, we're not kidding ourselves, yeah? It requires time, your time, which is precious. It requires your energy. So I would share with your listeners maybe 3-4 questions where they can test this idea if they want to, before they start, so that later they don't have some kind of regrets. Oh, why did I do it? Maybe it's not for me. Okay, so if you don't mind, I would like to share 4 or 5 questions, okay? So the first question, does this dream, does this goal give me more life? Is this giving me more life? When I think of this, does it make me feel more alive, okay, than I'm feeling now? That's the first question. And we want a yes to that question, okay, as an answer. Does the second one, does this dream that I have, does this dream align with my core values? What are my core values? What is important for me in my life? Okay, is this aligning with my core values? So let's say that when it's all said and done, what will have mattered most to you or to me if I'm doing this? Okay, as I'm going into this journey. And the next question, really, really important, and I really like that one. Does this dream require me to grow? Will be a challenge for me, an opportunity for me to become a better version of me during that journey, okay? Because, if we decide to do some kind of task or we decide on some kind of goal that is not really changing where we are now, okay, that's good. But, maybe it's not that exciting. So we want to ask ourselves, is this something that will actually allow me to grow as a person, as a human? Very important. Because I think to live a larger life, let's say, more fulfilling life, we want to grow, we want to change, we want to transform. So I think that's important. So let's see, is this something that can make us do that? And then the next question would be, does this dream or goal have good in it for others? So what am I bringing to others by doing this? What good is there in this? And that's very, very important, because you want to do something so that you not only benefit yourself, you want to benefit people who you're making contacts with, or you're coming into conversations, or you're maybe selling something, but you want what's good there for them. Is there a good for others? So these are questions that I would, and these are maybe some advices that, so test your dream, test that goal, test that idea that you have. Ask these questions so that when you start this journey, that you are then sure, okay, that's really, I feel comfortable, that's what I want to deliver. So Gary, that would be my advice. I don't know, it was maybe the shortest one I gave, but I think it's very important. At least it was for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not get a bucket load of golden nuggets out of that response, you weren't paying attention, but that was really sage advice. So let me ask you this. What resources do you find most beneficial to you on your entrepreneurial journey?
Thank you for that one. Wow, another huge one, Gary, actually, because it goes like this for me. It's my experience, okay? So books, courses, tutorials, it's all good, okay? It's good, maybe it's necessary, we want to surround ourselves with some kind of content that we read, that we investigate, that helps us to do whatever we need to do. But the best resources that I got in this journey, I can definitely say it's not books, it's not courses, it's not tutorials. What helped me along the way was working with different mentors, with working with different coaches, maybe being part of a supporting mastermind group or accountability group. So when I surrounded myself with people who had some experience, or maybe they didn't even have an experience, but we were supporting each other in these groups, or for a specific question that I had, I would ask a mentor, somebody who has experience in this, not wait maybe on my own to figure it out, because today we are really lucky with the internet and everything. You can get information and answers to almost everything instantly. But it's important to have this kind of human contact with somebody who maybe went through this. And that's what I found very useful. I could read the book, but when I talk to someone, and even if they give me just 1 or 2 sentences, I can accelerate my progress to new heights. That's definitely, I think, something that helped me. And then on the top of that, I would also say, and I would maybe advise and invite people to do that, your listeners, to maybe find a partner in believing. Somebody who believes in you when you maybe don't believe in yourself, because you are maybe doubting some kind of things, or should I go there? Find a partner in believing, somebody who will support you, who will be there for you. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a new person in your life, but you can have a partner, maybe a partners in believing, maybe multiple partners, and they can be crucial in your progress and how you will succeed in the end, or maybe not succeed. So definitely
incorporated in your answer is the idea about not being alone on this journey. So many people get the idea that, oh, I can go online, I can have a website, and I can have an email address, and I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to engage. I just give people pre-recorded answers that I've already worked out. And that is not the way to succeed in this world. Business is based upon relationships. You buy from who you like and trust. That's all there is to it. And having a website that's really flashy, having really nice emails that come out works in the short term. It's not a long-term solution. And so having said all of that and agreeing totally with everything you just put out, what would you identify as 3 people, 3 resources, 3 books, 3 authors, whatever, that have helped you the most along your journey?
The most influential people in my life would definitely be my mom and dad, okay? So my mother and father, definitely. I mean, just to look at their love and support from an early age, and even nowadays when they're in their 70s, it's just enormous and it doesn't have any limits. So I think I'm quite lucky with that. But what I learned out of that is that, they taught me how to actually enjoy life, but enjoy life in these small moments, that we usually miss. We have these kind of big ideas, maybe we have some kind of big goals, but then we just let the time passes by us, and then we miss this enjoyment in the now. How much beauty there could be if we just pay attention what's happening now. And that's what they taught me. And that's even, I can say that's priceless, because that's how I've been then living my life, looking at them, how they were living, enjoying each meal, preparing the table as it's, I don't know what kind of celebration, but it's every day. It doesn't need to be like a birthday or something, you know. That's what I taught from them. And that's what they gave me. And then on the other side, also this enormous support, as I said, you know, support. Maybe sometimes it's cautious from that side, as they are always want to protect you. So maybe they don't really always like when you try something new. But there is always this advice. Okay, maybe just think about, be cautious, but okay, do it, you know, because it's your life. That's definitely my mom and dad. But then I would mention the third person, if three people, but of course there were so many. But maybe the third person who I met in my early 20s was my, actually now I would call it like life mastery mentor. My biggest mentor in life. We started with some meditations in my early 20s as a group. That person was there. And even nowadays, I'm still in contact with her. So she was somehow kind of, I don't like to call it like a guru, you know, because I don't want to use that word in this kind of sense, but she definitely was a person who helped me in different moments in my life, how to get through them, how I learned to then deal with these kind of challenging situations, and how I transform myself. So that's something that I really appreciate, you know. That was huge, because each time I had a conversation with my mentor, I changed. And that allowed me to actually move from maybe some kind of stuck moment in your life, you know, when we have them, a challenge or maybe an obstacle. Wow, let's just talk, let's just share, let's just learn something. There must be a way out of this. And that's where she helped me. So yeah, that's still ongoing, luckily. So I'm really happy about that. And I'm really actually happy and grateful for all these people in my life, to have this opportunity to have them. But then of course, many others that maybe didn't mention now also contributed to that, some kind of success, or just feeling that you're alive, you're good, you know, life is good.
Well, success does leave clues, and having people in your life like that is evidence that the law of attraction works. You attract such people into your life. I mean, having great parents is perhaps an accident of birth, but at the same time, I believe we attract our parents. You can argue that whole argument that we attract people, and they come into our lives and they stay. And if we're attracting the wrong kind of people, the job is inside of us to get it fixed so that we get the right kind of people in there. So I really appreciate this answer. It was a very touching answer. And I could feel the congruent integrity from you as you expressed it. So I thank you very much for that. There's a lot of myths about being an online entrepreneur. You're working IT. There's a lot of myths about just being in IT. What is one myth that you would like to bust for our audience about being a digital entrepreneur?
I like this question because it was with me from the early start, even, you know, without me being now. It was really, really with me when I started with university, maybe even with my high school. So I would say that for me, I used to actually have at that time thoughts that maybe this is not the right time, you know, to do something in my life, because let's wait when the conditions are right, okay? Or maybe I would say to myself, you know what, maybe you're too young at that age for something. Or maybe even when I was in my 20s, I was maybe too old for something that I wanted to do, you know? So there were these kind of three things. Maybe that's not right time. It's not maybe I'm too old, or maybe I'm too young, okay? But I would really like to offer to your listeners, age is just a number. It doesn't matter how old you are. And when you actually decide that you want to pursue something that you are really passionate about, it doesn't matter if it's in your 70s, 80s, or if it's when you're 10. Doesn't really matter if it's really something that you feel inside of you. And the next thing would be that we can say maybe it's not the right time, okay? But I can tell you, now is the perfect time. And actually now is the only time we have. So now it's actually an amazing time to start. Whatever you want to start now, because that's what you have right now. It's perfect moment. Choose where you want to move your life next. Choose it now, regardless of the circumstances, or I don't know what it is, but you can choose in the now. And that's something that I would like to maybe, debunk in this kind of way, because I feel that a lot of people are actually stuck with that, Oh yeah, maybe I'm too young. It sounds good, but I'm too young. Oh, but it sounds good, but I'm too old. Like I'm in my 60s or whatever. Doesn't really matter, It doesn't matter. It'll give you more life. It'll give you more life.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely. Walking into the digital world when I did, as unprepared as I was and still am to be here, it has allowed me to experience life with greater abundance. And I am more alive now than I was 20 years ago, just far more alive and enjoying every aspect of it. I really liked your answer. Again, ladies and gentlemen, golden nuggets everywhere in that answer. I totally am on board with you there, Sasha. Sasha, now I've been asking you a lot of questions, but oftentimes there's a question I should ask you that I should ask you, but I haven't asked you because you have the perfect answer for that question. So tell me, what is the question I should have asked you, and tell me the answer.
Gary, so that very nice. I mean, thank you for offering this, that I can actually now ask myself maybe something that you didn't mention, and okay, we really, I presume we talked about all these kind of positive aspects. Maybe I mentioned something a little bit challenging that can happen along the way, but maybe one question that I could maybe talk about is how I actually overcome my periods or episodes of really extreme anxiety and maybe panic attacks, okay? And this is something maybe that can help others potentially, because I think it's quite widespread nowadays in our society, and maybe people don't feel comfortable talking about these kind of issues, about our mental state. How do we feel? How do we feel every day? So in my life, it happened at one point that I brought myself to an extreme, not because of some kind of turbulent events or some kind of extreme events in my life. It was more that at that time I was really, really busy and stressed and doing things on some kind of autopilot, living my days. Every day is the same. You go to work, you come back. And that at one point, I reached that point where just one afternoon, I experienced this extreme, just not feeling well. I will faint. I will just collapse. What happened? The fast forward this story, it was actually a panic attack at that time. And listening to my days prior to this, I could not now see that body was giving me some signs, There were some signs. I was living maybe my life. It was all too fast with no time for myself to, calm down, to maybe look at the present moment, as I said, now, to maybe pay attention what's happening in the now. What am I doing? It's been going on maybe for a year and a half, this kind of period where I was really, really active and not really enjoy what's going on around me. What's the sky like? Are there any clouds, today? This kind of stuff. So you're just like living in some kind of energy. And then it can go on, okay? No problems. But at one point, you will reach the point when it'll be more than enough, okay, for you. You will not have a tolerance to this. And that's how I experienced this period of panic attacks. And prior to that, I was always listening to people talking about this, but you cannot really understand it until you experience it. But okay, let's see how I actually dealt with that, because immediately I noticed, okay, that was the sign, the signs were there. I didn't pay attention. Here I am now. At that time, I couldn't go to work for 3-4 months, okay, until I was back. But immediately as that happened, and when I actually realized that it's nothing with my body is actually a healthy, physical body was healthy. It was just all these symptoms that you have that you feel like, oh, I'm actually dying. Immediately as that happened, and I realized it's nothing physically with me wrong, I searched for help, okay? Because medical profession, they told me at that time, well, would you be happy if you go to 80% of what you are now, or maybe 90%, because I asked, will this ever be cured? Can we get rid of this kind of? They said, well, would you be happy with 80-90%? But I said, wow, I want to be back 100%. So let me cut this short, because what I did, the most important thing for me was get into exercise. Although it was difficult at the beginning, because I couldn't even do some steps, around the room, but I forced myself do some yoga. Okay, that was something that was not too extreme. I really moved. I went for walks, daily walks, although it was like not easy at the beginning, but I was walking. I was getting myself out there. I definitely did my yoga every single day, even if it was for 5 minutes at the beginning. Then it was food. I cut my sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. 0%, okay? No more all of this. So it was very, very healthy food at that time. I lost some weight, of course, but it was okay. I got some help, people who actually helped me. I read books. I joined webinars. I was investigating, what is this? How can I help myself? I started with intensive meditation. Although I started meditation before, this was the time that really intensified meditation time, this time where you are with yourself, where you look within you. It doesn't really matter which kind of meditation, but you find your 5 minutes in the morning, maybe 5 minutes in the evening, just for yourself. Even if it's just like looking around and noticing what's in the room where you are, or maybe outside. So meditation, food, a lot of fluids, a lot of water, mainly water and teas. And that really helped me. So with all this combining and with my mindset again changing, because of course I was on this journey before, it helped me then to overcome that in 3-4 months, to get this strength and to rise again.
I think there's a lot of wisdom right there. Thank you so much. That's a really interesting slant on life, and something that's not talked about as openly and as honestly as you've just done it. People need to celebrate their mental health. And at the same time, we need to become aware of the warning signs and reach out for help because it's there. So thank you so much, Sasha, for that. Now, Sasha, you're a really interesting guy. How can people get in touch with you? Now, whatever you tell me, I'm going to put in the show notes so everybody knows that, where they can find it. But how's the best way to contact?
As you know, I'll be officially launching my business end of April, and that'll be something that I'll have even a 5-day free event, which I will celebrate this kind of introduction of my business at that time. But for now, the best way to contact me is my Facebook or Instagram. So it's Sasha Posavec, or they can also send an email to me at sasha@lifemasterymentors.com. And there is also a website which will be launching soon, but people can maybe join my mailing list there already if they want to, and that's lifemasterymentors.com. So that would be like 3 or 4 contacts at the moment.
As I told you all, it's going to be in the show notes. It'll be excellent for you to take a good look at that. And I look forward to when you announce your launch date and the open to the public, basically, events that you're going to have as you launch. That's fantastic. Now, Sasha, I give everybody 2 minutes to say whatever's on their heart, whatever's on their mind at this moment in time. And so the next 2 minutes are yours.
Thank you, Gary, for this opportunity. And I really enjoyed the conversation so far. So thank you also for these 2 minutes. Thinking about 2 minutes, I mean, what can you say in 2 minutes? But maybe for your listeners, it would be interesting to offer this invitation to invite your listeners. When they dream, they can ask themselves, and I will repeat that again because I said it before, what would I love in my life, okay? Not necessarily what I would love, not necessarily what I would want, but what would I love? It's so important. And then when we ask this question, or when your listeners, maybe people ask this question, then allow yourself to actually dream big, to go beyond known. In this kind of answer to this question, allow yourself to actually think of impossible. Maybe some people will say, well, that's not possible. Why why are you even considering this? Allow yourself to dream big. Allow yourself to think of this impossible. Because if you look at around ourselves, everything we see, everything that was created in this human, some kind of history of our human evolution, everything started as an idea. So don't believe that it's not possible, because whatever you can think of, you can make it a reality. Maybe it'll take a little bit longer for some people, but it's possible. So when you decide on your dream, think about it in this kind of way. Be, somehow open to these limitless possibilities, okay? Because then they might become a probability as you move along. And that would be my invitation, just dream big, maybe. That's like, a phrase, but it's really true. So dream big. Don't be afraid, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Sasha Posavec, online counselor, life coach. excellent advice that he's given to us today. Thank you so much, Sasha, for coming on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe. Share it with somebody that you know might appreciate the information that's been given today. We know that success leaves clues. Sasha's successful. He's left you a lot of clues. There are golden nuggets everywhere. And until we meet you on the next podcast, that will be it for today. Thank you for attending, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye, Sasha.
Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.